So this week in class, I want to talk about curriculum night, how it's okay to not be able to finish everything, and Igor Stravinsky. All right. So, yeah, this week was good. Again, it's getting better and better. Listen, let me not overlook my and not point out my secret weapon, right? So, I don't know if I mentioned this, but so I'm teaching second grade, and I guess they have more students than they had in prior years. So they put two of us in the fifth grade building, right? So the teacher next door to me she's been teaching for 14 years. So this is just automatic for her. So she's been such a great help, So it's funny. I'm thinking like all the things that my students love about me probably come from next door. Right. But yeah, so one of the things I've learned is that you won't always finish everything. So as a teacher, you normally have you got a schedule for the day, and you've likely created some sort of a lesson plan of so reading, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, blah blah blah. Well, because of the way our education system works, you normally have there's I would say for instructive type things, you tend to have like 30 minutes, right? And then after that, there might be 45 minutes or so where the kids will work on what it is you taught. Well, sometimes in the middle of that, um, there could be a fire drill or, a kid's being picked up. So somebody's coming over your intercom saying, "Hey, can you send two kids, to pick up a kid?" Which you can still teach, right? But that means that you got one kid coming in the lesson who has no exposure to it, and then you have two kids who left in the middle of your lesson, which if they're with it, then great. But if they're not, they're kind of catching up. So there's kind of a lot of this backfilling that happens, all day in class. And then in the middle of it, someone may get upset, or, you may have kids that are just sometimes just being disruptive in class. So that slows down your lesson. So, and this is something to consider. Like maybe I need to try to, if it's even possible, right? Say, okay, whatever I teach, it needs to take 5 minutes. And if what I'm teaching takes 5 minutes, but I got a 30-minute time slot to do it, if someone slows me down or if I'm interrupted and just all these crazy things that happen during the day, I have a longer period of time. Whereas if I have a lesson that maybe takes 10 or 15 minutes to teach, as I'm interrupted and slowed down, that 15 minutes stretches to beyond maybe the 30 minutes of instructional time. In addition to the fact that while we're teaching math, reading, all this type of stuff, the other thing that we're really doing is building relationships with these kids, right? So, and somebody told me that like it's so important to remember that is a priority, because when you have the relationship built, then it makes it a lot easier for them to accept what it is you have to teach. Whereas if you focus on teaching without the relationship, you can't get it done because they're not willing to listen to you because they don't care about what you have to say. So you have to give them a reason to care about what you have to say. Then that does make your teaching more smoother. So the other thing that's more of something that I noticed is that as a teacher, preparation is so important, and preparing for class is so important. But you tend to not have a lot of time to do it, which I think explains why it works the way it works for teachers, where like the first year is just chaos. In the second year, you kind of have a stronger handle on what you're doing. And that's in part because that second year and the third year and the fourth year and on, you've done these things and you start kind of archiving and noticing things that have worked. So the things that have worked, that are still relevant, you carry on to the next year. And that's not just what you're teaching, but the behavioral systems and all that type of stuff. Because if you're teaching second grade and the school system doesn't make changes, then whatever it is you're teaching really stays the same. So you can really have the same format unless the school system or the school makes changes for however long. So then you really start saying, okay, kids struggle with this unless I teach it this way. So then the next year when you teach it, you're extremely successful because you figured out what is successful in terms of how to teach the kid. Um, so yeah, that's something that I'm trying to learn how to get better at, really preparing for the next day, the week, next week, because you come in the morning, unless you come in really early, you really have like an hour, and then at the end of the day, you could stay longer, but it depends on your situation and your home and what you got to do. So it's not always ideal. Whereas with most other jobs, prep time is built into your work schedule. So if you work at, McDonald's or Wendy's, you open the store and then you close the store. And that's a part of your hours. There is no, hey, if you don't finish, you don't finish. I mean, which maybe some places, in some way. But in general, if the store opens at 7 a.m., right? They probably have people come in at 5:30, and your prep time actually takes, an hour and a half or less. Whereas as a teacher, it's not necessarily the case all the time. So that's just something that I guess you learn over time, and you build a repertoire of things that work. So like for instance, morning work, I think I told you guys last week, right? I'm trying to figure out how to put together my morning work stuff. And somebody made a good recommendation for morning work. You can Google morning work, but you can also Google summer work. So it's the beginning of the year, right? So a lot of my morning work is review stuff. So if I look up morning work for summer work for kids that are transitioning from first grade to second grade, that's great morning work because it's a review of everything they did and pushing them up into second grade. Well, as I'm discovering that, then I can also archive that stuff for future. So I can figure out, okay, what morning work was successful, and as I go through the year, what morning work actually put my kids on the level where I wanted them to be. Once I figure that out, and that's all archived, I end up with a whole dossier of morning work for the next year. And I do the same thing. What worked, what didn't work, what did they grasp, what actually got them ready for the day. As I continue to do that, then I actually build up, this list of things, and the class almost, at least my curriculum almost starts running itself. So the next thing that was, again, so here's a first. Of course, it's a first because I haven't done this before. Curriculum night. So curriculum night, you actually have the parents come in and you tell them, hey, this is the school, right? These are the major players here. This is how our day runs. And specifically, this is what we want to teach your children. And this is how we're going to teach them. And this is how you can get involved in that. Well, again, took a lot of prep time to get that done. Now, there were other teachers who've been there, had their slideshow already done, and then there was a general slideshow that was provided by admin. So I just kind of reworked it, so that it fit for me, but it wasn't. I probably would have leaned more into the design element if I had more time. So now I have a base presentation that went well, works well, has all the information I need, so I could actually rework those slides, or I got an idea for going even a little bit more over the top with it. We'll figure it out if it's worth the time, right? But for next year, that's something I was kind of like, oh man, like there's this apprehension I have, about like these are these people's babies, and I know how that feels, So to be a first year teacher, are they going to be cool with that? And again, they're like, listen, as long as you're honest and sincere, we're fine. What you got to say, what you going to do, and then it's different too because curriculum night is not necessarily a space for them to have a conference. They can ask a few questions, and you answer those, but you put conferences together, later on in the year when you know the kids a little bit better, and then you know what they can and can't do. All right. Um, Also, and tell me, if you're a teacher, do you have a playlist for your class? If so, I'd love to know what it is. I do. So I do Miles Davis, kind of blue, right? And we have this application that allows us to grab like full playlist or like really long pieces of music, and it cuts all the ads out, which is great. So no ads at all when I play stuff. I like that. So I have Miles Davis, kind of blue, that whole album. There's a playlist I found that's called Chill Hop. So it's kind of like lo-fi, kind of jazz inspired with a nice little beat to it. There's that. I, I have, who do I have? I forget what it is, but kind of generic classical music. I forget who it was. And then I have this thing called brown noise. It's not white noise, but it's just a shh type of thing that's supposed to help them focus. Oh, and I have a binaural beats, right, which is like 2 or 3 hours. Just enough for me to just play. And then, so I tried. I was like, okay, well, let me do like I normally do just on my own. I listen to Stravinsky, the Firebird Suite, right? So I was like, all right, well, let's do Stravinsky. Nah, Stravinsky is not. This is a funny word to use. I mean, he's not appropriate for relaxing, kind of calming music. It was way too much, and it's funny because I listen to some classical music, but I primarily listen to jazz. So I was like, man, I know you got down like that, like, and even like I said, I've listened to the Firebird Suite, but for my own enjoyment. But I never thought of it as, yeah, yeah. This is too. It's way too intense. So just so you know, Stravinsky is inappropriate music for second graders if you want them to chill out, right? So, one thing I noticed, and this is so funny, there's a constant sighing and just, oh, when you drop the kids off, right? So you take the kids to fine arts or you take them to PE, and it's like, oh, you got to hustle back and do what you got to do, but you don't realize um, how tight you can be, right? So if anything, that means that I need to make sure that I am, you know, relaxing my shoulders, relaxing my face, making sure I'm breathing as I'm working because there's a constant onness as you're a teacher, especially at the lower grades, and you can be real wound up throughout the day, and that's probably not best, and it's not necessary. It's a choice to relax and calm down. So last thing, I so like I said, I was an elementary ed major, when I first started college, and one of the things that I was like there were so many projects, and part of the education process, they had us do the projects, and I was like, man, I ain't doing that. I don't want to do that, and that's why I stopped being an elementary ed major because I was like, I ain't doing all that. And so now I'm in a situation where I have to do a lot of these projects. Well, so Fridays, um, how can I say this? Some teachers take a more relaxed approach to Fridays, is a good way to say it, right? And I was like, well, so my neighbor was like, yo, I have a project that I like to do with the kids, and that's what she does on Fridays. She'll definitely do a lot of work, but then she'll do a fun project with the kids, which will illustrate. What's up, Dr. Chaz? Listen, um, again, this is I'm here for a very specific reason, but if you want to trade the stock market, right? If it's something you've heard about and you've heard that people make money with it, but you just have no idea how. Chastity Sandich, Dr. Chaz, we call her, is phenomenal with that. It's not about she is not a signals group. She doesn't just tell you, oh, do this, oh, do that. She teaches you how to think and how to think about trading and how to approach it so you can be successful with it on your own. And then she has a community. So it's not like an MLM type thing or anything like that. You can be in it, you cannot be in it. Here's the thing, right? I've been busy. So I haven't been, in the community, but here she is checking on me to see how I'm doing. So just a wonderful person and very knowledgeable about what she does. So if you see her there, reach out to her if you want to learn more about the stock market and how to manage it, right? So yeah, what was I saying? Oh, crafts, right? So recommended this craft. It was a hit. The kids loved it. So I'm like, oh, okay. That is how you be a cool teacher. You do things that they enjoy. Now, and it's not just about watching TV or finding a way to let them be on the computer. No, you let them use their hands to build something that they can be impressed with. So, and then the other thing, when you do crafts and stuff like that, then you have something to put. Like I use Class Dojo, so you can actually have something to share with the parents. Like, hey, look at what we did in class today. So that gets them engaged too. So yeah, that is this week in class, week number 3 for me. If you want to be a part of my class, I have my Amazon wish list attached here. And of course, you can adopt my class. If you want to do that, send me a DM and I'll send you the information to do that. So I'm enjoying this journey of being a teacher. So, every week, just get to kind of let you guys know what I'm doing. Not a distraction at all. Not a distraction, Dr. Chaz. No, I appreciate you coming through. So, I'm enjoying this and I'm enjoying sharing this with you. I'm going to keep doing this on Facebook and I'm probably going to move it to a podcast platform. So I'll let you know when I do that, so just in case, people who are not on Facebook or they want to consume this in a different way, right? Because I know I do a lot of audio stuff, especially if I'm riding in a car. So if I move this over there, that might make life a little bit easier for people who want to do that, So listen, y'all take care. Have a good week.